Hello, Michael. Can you hear me?
How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Hello, you're through to Books Boys. You've got Dean on the line. Who's calling?
It's Michael Pellegrino.
Michael Pellegrino. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So you've just rang in on Books Boys, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Why don't for any listeners that might not be aware?
Well, let's see. First of all, I think we have a little bit of distance between us. I'm actually calling from the States, Chicago, Illinois, where I'm presently at right at this moment. Um, I am a talent agent, and now we are a micro studio we built out. Um, but we pretty much could do anything.
Okay.
You wanted us to shoot a $10,000 sizzle, we could, or we could shoot $100 million movie. Uh,
Wow. Okay. So you've got a full setup then.
Full setup. We're post production, color correction, podcast rooms, recording rooms. We use Slate, the Raven, all their digital equipment, Black Magic cameras. We're fully opera. I mean, we're just pretty much nothing that we can't do, um, and we're expanding slowly. So it's different than we want to become content makers, go into that direction.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit different than running an agency and representing talent, but I think a little bit more exciting, a lot more fun, more
Is
creative.
it the want of excitement and fun that kind of made you want to change direction on that?
It is. I have always been a content maker. I've always been a writer, but I was, trained to be an agent. My specialty is packaging. So
Okay.
I'm the guy that puts the TV shows and the films and all the big events kind of from ground zero all the way to the moment you see it on TV. And it's a very a limited thing. There's not a lot of us that actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
But as I started to go, through the process of doing it for almost 30 years, I started to realize that I really wanted to do a little bit more, and I wanted to start creating content because I have a lot of messages. I have a lot of things that I want to get out there, and I'm a gigantic advocate for the world of literature, and I see a massive void for the literary world, especially with the pandemic. When the
Yeah.
pandemic started, I think the literary world took a big hit, um, but it was taking a big hit prior to that, because of one single word, Amazon.
Yes. Yeah. So would you say it's been hit disproportionately by the pandemic, or it's just a process of what's been happening, even since before?
I think it's been hit way before.
Mm.
I think the pandemic pushed it over the edge.
Yeah.
And it started to make publishing houses, authors, readers, everybody started to realize, there's a different dynamic that's starting to unfold on how people are viewing books, how people are able to interact with their favorite author. And we wanted to change that game. So we we've been building out the authorsworld.com, which, knock on wood, will be launching hopefully by July 8th. We were looking for June 30th, but we still have a little bit of technical things that we're working out. But it's a phenomenal platform. It's a digital platform that integrates a website that is like a Facebook. There's a
Mm-hmm.
Twitter. There's a weekly podcast, but we won't interfere with what you're doing. Um, we'll join forces.
Awesome.
But what we want to do is we want to bring back what's missing. The days of going to the bookstore, buying the book, getting a cup of coffee, waiting for your favorite author to come in and do a little reading, and then having a Q&A. It's gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
I mean, yeah, you're totally right. That's gone nowadays. It really is.
But and how do you do it though? That was the big question, was how are authors getting to their audience? How are publishers able to market? How are readers able to get the opportunity to interact with their favorite authors or up and coming authors?
Yeah.
We wanted to build a platform that was designed specifically for that particular market.
So you want this to be a catch-all. It's not one author. Well, maybe he's having some luck over on Instagram, and then another author, maybe she's talking to someone over here. You want to have one space where everyone can talk about the book, talk to the author, Q&A type stuff, have it all in one place.
Absolutely. And it has multiple divisions. I mean, we didn't leave out the biggest market in the world, which is the children's market. There's an entire division for children's books and for children to go into. I mean, there's young authors out there that are inspiring to be, an author, and we will give them a platform that they can publish their work online, and other kids can go in, take a look at it, discuss it. We lost that a long time ago when we started to become so digital, where it's kind of almost like a babysitter. Mom and dad give the kid the phone or the iPad or whatever, and it's a babysitter.
It is. No, it is. I've seen it with kids, even relations. When they have kids, it's just okay. There's an iPad. It's bright colors. It's fast stimulation, and that's it.
Absolutely. And we wanted to change that. The content that we want to put out there is positive. We want to make everything very positive, very safe, but we also want to, we don't want to forget nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Children's a big, 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 big market, even content wise. Animation. We do a lot of animation here at the studio at AMA. It's a really big passion, I think, of everybody that's on my team. We love it because we get the opportunity to create really cool things that have the opportunity to shape the positivity of the mind of a child that they're growing up. There's so much stuff on TV right now that's so, let's just call it not positive.
Yeah.
We'll be nice.
Sometimes, yeah, well, you can cushion that a little bit, but yeah, I mean, there's not as much positive content, as you would like, or as there used to be. So this sounds good. This sounds really good.
I'm hoping we've been building it and coding it for, I think, since the beginning of time.
Yeah, I mean, I read when I was checking up on you that you've really had the beginnings of the ideas for this, back in 2005. The ideas about doing this have been long in the works.
It has, and I don't mind letting people know that we made a ton of mistakes. Coding was something that was new to me,
Mm-hmm.
and we, entered into the wrong relationships with the wrong people during certain times. We've spent an excessive amount of money trying to find the right people to get what we're doing, and we finally, after all that time, latched on to a young team that is just they understood what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was really surprised, to be honest with you. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I didn't expect such young minds to be. They're brilliant. They're MIT people, but I didn't think they would grasp what I'm a little bit antiquated when it comes to certain, and they got it and they loved it. That was the whole thing. Is they embraced it and they ran with it. They picked up the ball, and I'm like, look at this is what I want. I felt like Steve Jobs, sure. I want it to fit on the head of a pin, but I don't know how to do it. Just go do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they did. They started creating really cool things. They started to format, come together formation wise.
Good.
And now we're almost there, ready to launch. And that's kind of one of our big projects over here at AMA Studios. Our agency is we keep it boutique. I'm an old CAA guy from back in the day, and I like to be very intimate and personal with my clientele. So my agents and I, we keep our roster intimate. Um, instead of having 10,000 people on the roster and, oh, we represent so and so, what good is it if you're not getting them work?
Yeah, I suppose that's a fair point. So you would like to keep a smaller roster.
Absolutely. Keep a smaller roster, be able to talk to my clients on a, if not a daily basis, at least once a week,
Hmm.
see how they're doing, communicate with them, and keep a rapport. And before you know it, they actually become family, and you're working hard for them.
Yeah.
That part of the agency is really important to me too.
That's
So
good. So you seem to be all about positivity with those things, doing things in the right kind of way, maintaining relationships and bringing positivity, which is great to hear.
I think that you have to. If you don't, you get stuck with a junior agent who doesn't know what they're doing. Clients get frustrated, and things don't happen when you. It's not micromanaging. It's just being heavily involved
Hmm.
in what it is that you built, and keep an eye on it. I mean, I'm sure we're going to grow at some point a little bit, but the studio has been overwhelming building. Um, I was not expecting as much work as it was, but it was great when we finally completed it. It's exciting. Um, I mean, and then all of a sudden, projects they just start coming to you. I mean, it's insane. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful that the people that I worked with for over 30 years are coming to me saying, "Hey, let's do this movie together." I'm like, "Sure, why not? Let's do it." It's just a very exciting moment
Mm.
in our life, and we're hoping that things. Well, we know it's going to be positive. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
We're not
And are
going to.
you specifically excited, after all the work to get Authors World going? Is that
Oh,
you
that is
must feel almost relieved to kind of finish with the pre-planning, with the putting the work in. Not that you're not going to put work in, but just to actually launch.
absolutely. Listen, this cup's going to be filled with coffee and rum. Um, but yeah, it's going to be one big celebration because it has been. Uh, I'll tell anybody, anything that's worth something doesn't come easy. It's a grind. It's a
Hmm.
hustle, and we have just grinded our way and hustled and every day have figured out we're doing this wrong. This is how it's got to be done. Authors World has taught me so much about new things. I'm an old school guy who loves to take his clients out. Let's have a steak. smoke a cigar, let's break bread. And
Hmm.
now this is kind of the new norm is what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it
And
is. It is.
it's difficult for guys like me that are used to going to the studios and pitching shows and interacting and shaking hands. Now we're everything. Well, let's just do a Zoom. All right, it's a different world.
Yeah. Do you think it'll stay like this, or do you think that it will slowly go back?
It's a great question. Sadly, I think that there'll be some movement backwards to you know some of the in-person stuff, but I think that we have after what 18 months almost of being locked down and everything, I think that people that have been employees and employers have become accustomed
Yeah.
of the new way, and they've also found out that they can save money.
Save overheads on offices. Yeah.
It's it's sad, but it's true. Um, so I think, quite frankly, this is the new norm, and that's kind of why we started to build some of the stuff that we have started to build when it comes to like the author's world, because you know you wrote a phenomenal book, and I want to know more about your inspiration and how you did it. How do I do that? I can't go to Borders Book anymore or Barnes and Nobles here in the States. I'm not sure if I mean, I know that, the UK has, bookstores just like we have, but it's all changed. Everything
Yeah.
is
I'm not sure. It's been a long, long time since I've seen what you mentioned earlier, like the author showing up at a bookstore, doing a Q&A, or, signing copies, whatever it is that they do. Years, I think, since I've actually seen that, to be honest, over here.
and it's the same thing here in the
Yeah,
States. Um, it's just something that it doesn't happen anymore, and I think it's a shame
it
because
is.
the you know if you're really an avid reader and you love books, you'll appreciate this analogy. You get a book and it's brand new off the press. If you're a book lover, you just love to open up that book and smell it and hear
Oh,
the
yes.
binder, start to sprinkle, and it's exciting, to hold it. And when they started to come out with digital books like Kindle and stuff, I was heartbroken.
Oh, yeah. I can't do it.
I can't either, and I think there's still going to be an audience that's still going to there's a readership that's still going to want to have a physical book in their hands and read it just because they love books and like what we're explaining. But we do
Yeah.
have to also look at the new market. We can't neglect it because they do exist, and it's getting bigger and bigger. But I still want to keep some nostalgicness around, and I want to let people know that there is a way for you to talk with your author and meet with them and do what we're doing right now, and
Mhm.
ask a question and be able to at least interact with them. And I think it's a great publicity tool as well for the publishing houses to market their books, for the platform that we're doing.
Yeah. I
But
mean, do you see it being somewhere that, you sort of did hint at it earlier, but do you see it being somewhere that aspiring authors, or, people who are working on work can get that out there and get some notice as well?
absolutely, and we have a whole section where we'll help you. There's a whole division where you'll be able to go into the site, and we will guide you through the process of here's what you have to do. We're not a publishing house, but we will guide you as much as possible,
Hmm.
help you get to that point where you can go out, and a lot of people are self-publishing nowadays. You have to find a legitimate self-publisher, not some um, what do you call it? I'm so lost for a word when I'm trying to think. A vanity publishing house, somebody that's legit, that's really going
Hmm.
to put the book out there, and people are going to get a chance to read it. But that's the whole thing for the author's world, is for you to be able to place your work on the website, and for people like yourself to look at it and read it and give it, your honest opinion
Hmm.
of their work. And criticism is not always a bad thing. Sometimes we don't want to hear it, but
We need it.
embrace embrace it. That's all. Just embrace. Sometimes people are right. Sometimes they're wrong. Opinions are opinions. You take you take a little bit of everything, and you go from there. But it's good to get feedback from somebody that doesn't know you, that doesn't have a biased opinion. And I think that will help new authors that are trying to get inspiration, to get feedback from the general public saying, hey, I really love it. This really didn't, this moves too slow or whatever. It's
Mm.
the opinion. Maybe the writer wants it to be that way. And maybe that reader is wrong, but at least there'll be dialogue
At
about
least there's
it.
a discussion there. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's really important, is to open up the dialogue between the writer, the author, and composers. We're going to have a whole section, because music is really important too. People don't realize what it takes to write a song for a TV show or for a film. It's like writing a script or a novel.
Oh
It
yeah.
takes a lot.
This is something that you won't be aware of because we only talked about, obviously the podcast and the books and things. But both myself and my co-host, first of all, my co-host has written a novel that he's going to try to get published. So I'm going to tell him to certainly check out the site for some of that discussion and feedback. We're also both musicians as well, and we've both recorded a lot of songs together. So I think there'd definitely be some uses there for ourselves. Never mind anyone listening, even just for ourselves already. I can see some interest. That's really good.
Absolutely. I think that composers are an audience. They don't have an audience that people really pay attention to. People actually don't realize when they watch the beginning opening we'll just take Friends for instance, since it's been such a big
Mm.
lately. The music, the opening music to that particular TV show was written by somebody. But
Yeah.
who can tell you the name of that composer and tell you all about them?
Very few people, I would say.
Right. And I represent Snuffy Walden. Snuffy Walden has written, it's probably one of the greatest composers of TV shows of our time. He's probably composed over 100 uh, beginning songs, opening
Wow.
or from everything from the Roseanne show, the Wonder Years, the Cheers, and on, and the list just goes on and on and on. But nobody knows Snuffy Walden. If you says, "Oh, I represent Snuffy Walden," great. What movies has he been in? He's a
Yeah.
composer,
People won't know. You're right. Yeah.
right? So I want to open up that door for people like yourself, musicians that are composing,
Hmm.
and let the audience know that writing a song is like writing a book. There's a process to it, and I want them to understand the process of what it takes to write a hit song and how much work goes into it. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of different elements to what we have built.
Hmm. No, that's really cool. And just when you mentioned Snuffy, I mean, it kind of sets my mind running because when I was reading, you've worked with a number of famous people, and I was very surprised to see that you'd done some work with Hulk Hogan in the past.
I have, I have, I
That's
have.
cool. What did you do for Hulk Hogan? I'm an old
I
wrestling
was an
fan from my childhood.
agent. Just have packaged TV shows for Hulk, who is kind of now taking it easy in his life,
Yeah.
um, relaxing and enjoying the way he should. I mean, the guy has had so many back surgeries and stuff.
Oh yeah, and he's put the work in for 40 plus years, so I think if anyone deserves a break,
Yeah, well deserved. I mean, he does all the comic uh, conventions and stuff still and everything, but his his thing of going out and doing commercials and TV shows is he's not really aspiring to that anymore like he used to.
Mm,
He's he's relaxing and I think he deserves it. I represent Ice T, who is a workaholic. Um,
really, yeah.
oh my gosh, this man, he doesn't drink coffee. First of all, it's wild. I don't know where he gets his energy from. He is a true artist in every sense of the way. Um, very very smart man. Uh, was actually people have such a misguided perception of Ice T. Ice T, is always perceived of two things: as a gangster rapper or he's a cop.
Yeah.
They think of him as Finn, and they don't realize that he's Ice T. But this is a gentleman that has reinvented himself over and over again, and he's he's brilliant. He's if he's not shooting a show or doing a commercial, um, he's out doing music.
Hmm.
I mean,
Always working.
he's always working. I don't. I think he probably gets a day a week that he may take for himself, and that's probably it. It keeps him. I think it keeps him energized. It
Some
keeps
people
him
need
sharp.
that. That's how some people function as well. It's crazy to think that there's people that don't need to to take a break and fuel themselves with coffee, but yeah, somehow there is.
I I admire it. I think working with him is nothing but a pure pleasure. Just the work ethic's incredible, and uh, what he does is incredible. He's a phenomenal actor. He's a true artist, and he's a real entertainer. And on top of that, he's real. You
Mm,
get what you get when you're with
authenticity, yeah.
him, and it's kindness. He's one of the most kindest men I've ever met. Him and his
Wow.
wife are absolutely beautiful people. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I've been out to dinner with them so many times. I've almost starved to death because the food's at the table, but people want autographs and pictures, and he will not say no.
Wow.
He will persist, and he always does. Look at we couldn't eat all this food and have a good time if it wasn't for them, and that's a great attitude to me. I admire that kind
Mm.
of
That's a good attitude, and I think it's probably lacking in a lot of people actually. So it's nice
I,
to see.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
Well, look, before we wrap up, let me quickly circle back to Office World. I want to ask you a question actually. Have you had some time, during the pandemic and things like that? Have you had some time to do a bit of reading yourself, or are you just still flat out with the work?
Honest, I've been building this studio. I have I probably read about two, maybe three scripts a
Hmm.
day. Um,
Wow.
yeah, we have about 11 projects right now in the works. We're doing a film with Actually, my old colleague, Mark Cook, who is known for Lost in Space with Matt LeBlanc, and
Yes.
he also very. If it wasn't for him, Passion of the Christ never would have gotten made. He teamed up with Mel Gibson and put that out. And he was actually physically at this conference table last week and is doing a new film with Prelude Pictures and AMA Studios, starring Mark Wahlberg, um, that he asked us to come and produce. But I mean, I constantly am just reading scripts right now, trying to weed out what it is that really strikes us for us that we want to be involved in, and pick those perfect projects that
Mhm.
identify who we are. Because I don't want to just make anything. I want to make a difference.
Yeah,
So
no, of course, and that's admirable, and that's, it's good to have that passion and actually have some authenticity behind your work. You're not just doing anything for the sake of it. Well, look, let
no,
me ask you a final question then before I let you go. What's your all-time favorite book?
I would probably say Black Rain. Oh,
Okay.
wait, I got two because I love Black Rain. Just I could probably read it 10 times over, but I could probably do the same thing with the Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, yes. No, the Count of Monte Cristo, the massive, massive volume that it is
Oh my!
sitting on my bookshelf, and it's designed for my July reading. I'm going to take the whole month and just work through it. So no spoilers.
All right, I'm not gonna. I'm not, but it, you won't be able to put it down. It's that good. It
To
is.
be honest, I anticipate that. I mean, I've read other Dumas books. I've read some of the Three Musketeers stuff, and I really like his style. So I'm looking forward to this one. It's been on my shelf for about 3 or 4 months. I've just been putting it off because there's a lot of shorter books I wanted to get to that I could get through quicker. It's going to take me
Of
a long time
course.
to
Of course.
do, but yeah, I'm. It's good to get a good review of it though before I tuck in.
Oh, 5 stars. A phenomenal read. You'll love it. I don't think you're gonna want to put it down. You'll put it down and then start laying down and be like, all right, I'm gonna
Straight
put
back to it.
that.
A midnight cup of coffee and back to the book. I hope so. The quicker I get through it, the better, because I need to review shows on books on the show, But that's a book that might take a whole month, and that's doesn't.
It's phenomenal, and I just feel that it's one of those books that I love, you know, I love those kinds of stories where I love the underdog that rises, and
Yeah,
that's all I'll say is, you know, somebody who is left in the wind proves everybody wrong, and
everyone loves an underdog story, whether it's in books, in movies, even back to wrestling. The underdog. People like to root for them, like to get behind them.
I've been the underdog my whole life, and I've always been the guy that, you know, now after 30 years a little different, but it's okay being the underdog because all it does is light a fire under you to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what makes successful people is being know to take notice and realize that people think, hey, I'm the underdog. That's all right. You ain't ever gonna see me coming. And when you do, I'm gonna hit you like a you know I'm trying to be very polite.
But would you say that, is that, I think that's a good note to end on, but I do kind of want to ask, is that a piece of advice that you would give? Or you've got a lot of experience, you say 30 plus years in the entertainment industry. What is that big takeaway that you would kind of give to people who want to make it?
Super easy. If you want to make it in this industry, it doesn't make a difference on what side of it, whether you want to be an agent or if you want to be talent. Um, you have to be number one. I always tell people because they call me this. You have to be persuasive. You have to number one believe in yourself because people will not believe in you if you don't believe in you. And that will come across right away to a casting director, to a producer, to anybody. You have to believe in you. Number two, you have to be persistent. This is a business where you're going to hear no 100 million times. They're going to beat you down to the point where you're like, you know what? I'm going to go get a job somewhere else. Forget this. This is a stupid business. No, it's not. The people that are telling you no, it's an opinion. That's all it is.
Mm.
Don't let them get the best of you. Be persistent, be passionate. If you really believe that this is what you want for your life, then don't ever give up on it because you'll be successful. But you have to be persistent and passionate about it, and you have to be very, very, very persuasive. And that's the best advice I could ever give anybody.
There we go. The three P's: persistent, persuasive, and passionate. That's the takeaway. Michael, it's been lovely talking to you. I'll let you get back to your
Well,
coffee there, but have a great day.
you as well. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Thanks.